In this video, I'm going to replace the window run channel on our 2005 Sienna passenger side. I've already done the driver's side. The tools required for this are fairly simple, just a Phillips screwdriver and a 10mm socket wrench. We'll do the trick with some pry and push tools. You can get these plastic sets from the auto parts store. There's two main things to do. One is remove the door panel, and the second one is to remove the window. To remove the door panel, there are going to be, I believe, 7 Phillips screws, and one of them is under this little plastic cover on the door open lever that's held on by barbs on the back of the cover. I apologize, I did this with one hand while I was filming with the other hand. Not the easiest thing to do, but surprisingly I was able to do the job most of the way doing that. Sometimes I put the camera on the tripod. So now we're going to get the screwdriver and we're going to start removing some screws. And I am doing this as real time as possible. I did not speed up any of the video. I did stop the video momentarily at certain times to do things that weren't related to this actual DIY repair. This end plug, it's a spreader plug that has a kind of an insert rivet. I think they call them plastic spreader or plastic pop rivets. If you unscrew the center portion, then you can simply slide out the whole assembly, and you'll see in a sec what it looks like. Again, it's fairly easy to do, not held in tight. Okay, I believe all the initial screws are out that we can get to now. Now we're going to pop off the armrest. There is a metal spring barb in the back that's kind of a pain to get out. You'll see it in a second what it looks like. It's a spring clip. But it takes a bit of tugging to get it out, and once you see what it looks like, you might be able to simply go in there and push on the barb to release it. Do not pull up on the front. The front has a tab that goes underneath the opening. Okay, there's the barb. You can see it's just a little metal spring clip. And once you get that out, you can pretty much pull up from the rear and then slide it rearward, and then in the front you can see that tab there that has to clear the hole in order to get it out. Going for the plugs, these are standard plugs that have a little press tab. And again, they're in pretty tight. But you can get the clips out. There's another press tab. It's the window switch, and I believe thought it was the door lock. I can't remember. There's another clipped wire in here that goes to the courtesy light that's in the bottom corner of the door panel. So you need to disconnect that because the light is mounted on the door panel. And once again, apologies for trying to film this with one hand. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do. Okay, next there's this cover panel. It's held on by 2 screws. Again, for some reason the focus went out on the camera. I don't know why, but basically two screws. All these little screws are the same type, so you don't have to worry about keeping track of which one goes where. And now the plastic cover just lifts right out. And the next thing to do is a very big screw that's screwed into the frame. It's actually screwed into a big plastic plug in the frame, so even though it's pretty tight, you can pull it out, as you can see with one hand with a screwdriver. This is the screw that gives the strength when you pull the door closed from the armrest. Okay, now all the main screws are out, and the next thing to do is to pry out the sides and the bottom of the door panel using a pry tool. There's a bunch of little plastic spring clips, which you will see once we get the door panel off. So you just got to get a pry tool in there somewhere and pop the first one, and once you can pop the first one, you can kind of tug and pop the remainders. Plugs go up both sides. Last thing to do is to pull out the plastic cover for the side view mirror wiring. There's a little plug on the top, and then it lifts up and out. You'll see there's a tab on the bottom that goes into that little square hole. The plug's a bit beat up. And now you are ready to lift the panel up and out. You do have to deal with the door opener lever assembly, and in this case you can actually rotate that lever assembly sideways and sneak it out of the hole, and you don't actually have to disconnect the two cables that are attached to it. So again, I'm doing this with one hand. Now I got to twist this door lever assembly sideways so it can just slide back through the hole, and it'll stay attached to the door for now. Apologize again for the camera work. And the door panel is out. You can see the green plastic spring clips all around. Make sure those are still in the door panel. Sometimes they pop out, but you can push them back into the door panel. There's little tabs they go in. Set the door panel aside. So two more things we have to do. One is we need to remove the speaker so we have access to the front area where the window run channel goes down into the front of the door. There's another one of these spring tab clips for the audio wiring. Kind of hard to push. Again, much easier if you're using two hands. But I did manage it here with one hand. The speaker itself is held on by 4 10mm bolts that actually have Phillips threads in them too, so you can take out these bolts either with a screwdriver or with the ratchet. Okay, I think you can see it's 10mm. Now the speaker itself it's held in with some tabs on the top and the bottom, so it won't just fall out of the door when you take the screws out. And you'll see how these look. You basically need to insert the top into the hole first, slide the speaker up, and then put the bottom in and rest it down on the bottom tab. You'll see in a second what these tabs look like. There's the tab on the top and the tabs on the bottom, and I'll show you right now how you would actually insert it back in. Wrong way. Okay, front goes in first, and then the bottom slides in. That's it. Okay, next thing to do is we have some plastic paper that's covering a hole. I also need to lower the window, so I'm going to go ahead and plug back in the window switch. And I'm going to lower the window real quick. I had to turn the ignition key on. I'm going to drop the window down so you can see the mounting bolts for the window in the regulator assembly. And you need to, the window doesn't go all the way down. It goes maybe 3/4 of the way down. And you can see this bolt in the rear. There's a little hidden by the frame, so you need to raise the window enough that you can get a clear shot at that bolt. But those are two 10mm bolts that are holding the window on. The window is sitting in a kind of a little saddle. You'll see the tabs later when we pull the window out. So you don't have to worry about the window falling down when you remove those bolts. But one of the biggest pains is taking off this plastic wrap, because they got the very gooey, whatever that is, tacky rubbery adhesive. I found using an X-Acto knife helped. And just peel it back enough that you can get your hand in both the bottom and the top hole that's covered by the plastic. Okay, this took me like another minute to get it to this point, so it wasn't a lot of extra time that we missed on the video. So now I'm just pulling out those two bolts real quick. Notice I also pulled the armrest back off. I don't need that right now. It would be in the way. And then now that you have a raw edge on the inside door frame, it's a good idea to put a towel there, covering as much of the edge as possible, because when you pull out the window glass, and if you scrape it alongside that inside frame, you don't want to scratch the glass. The outside still has the weather trim rubber strip there to protect the glass. Basically, the window is ready to simply just lift up. What you're going to do is you're going to twist it towards the front of the door, taking the rear out first, and the window will simply just slide out, and it pulls out from the outside of the door frame. And I'm just going to set that aside, and I'll clean it up later before I put it back in. With some, I have a spray bottle of rubbing alcohol and some shop towels. So the next thing is to reposition the camera so I can show you how easy it is to pull out this run channel. It's held into the frame. The frame is just a U-shaped trough with kind of barbed edges, and the window run channel is just in the shape of a U with barbs on either side, and it's very easy to pull out. This is a 10-year-old car. The rubber is a bit hard, but it still pulls right out. Sorry for the delay here. Oh yes, I just wanted to show you the package of the one I got from the Toyota dealership. 68141 is the right hand. I believe it's 68151 is the driver's side. And before you yank out the old one, just make sure the new one is the correct one. Here's a little adhesive strip. It's the only piece of adhesive on the entire run channel. It's just at the front corner of the door frame. I don't know why they put it there. They must have had a problem with the weather stripping pulling away. But now this stuff just pulls right out of this U-shaped channel very easily. The one thing you're going to see now is as I get to that front where that adhesive strip is, you just want to pull this away carefully so you can get that adhesive off the door frame as much as possible, because you need to clean that off. So everyone's got a different technique here. If you had a heat gun, you could probably heat it up and it would pull off cleanly. I'm just simply pulling it off very slowly, hoping it will get most of it, and then I'll just have to clean up the rest of it afterwards. But it's a little foamed. it's like double stick foam tape almost. And again, it's only that like 1.5 inches right by that front corner. And again, the rest of the channel just pulls right out very easily. So the next thing I did was using shop towel and some alcohol, just wipe down the channel and mainly get off the last of that gummy area there. Oh, actually, I'm going to show you what the run channel looks like inside the door. You can see how far down it goes. And again, everything's very clean. So there was almost nothing to clean up here. I mean, I think most of the grime was really when I wiped down the window, the exterior of the window. It had a lot of dirt on it. But you can see the run channel, it's just a U-shaped with a bit of a barb on each side of the U. So once again, take your time. It'll only take about a minute. And if you're patient, you'll get most of it off just by pulling, and it'll be much less for you to have to scrape off. Okay, rubbing alcohol and a shop towel. It's just isopropyl alcohol from the local store. That's pretty much it. And wiping along all the inside of the channel, but you'll see in a second there's pretty much no dirt on the towel. So there's really not much to clean. But just give it a good wiping anyway. Okay, repositioning the camera so I can show you how to insert the new run channel. Now, so here's the front portion with the adhesive tab. The corners, both top corners have hard barbs protruding from each side of the corner just to make sure they hold tight and fast. So basically just insert it, push it in. I usually push it in the inside part of the channel first and then the outside. And you can simply just push it and go down one side and then the other. Again, the rubber goes in fairly easily. You can seat both sides of the rubber pretty easily. So you can go ahead and push in the run channel on the front vertical side. Just drop the rubber inside the door for now and push it down as far as you want. Do not do the top part yet because I'll show you in a second. Okay, now what I'm going to show you now is that the rubber, when you measure, hold the rubber up to the top of the frame, you are going to notice that it looks like this doesn't fit, that it's about 1 inch too big. You'll see, I'll pull the camera up so you can see how far over the rubber goes. It seems like it's a lot longer than the door. I thought this was a manufacturing defect, and then I realized that what they really want you to do is compress the rubber. And the old run channel that you've taken out of the door has already been compressed and sitting there for several years. So when you pull it out, it's not going to automatically span. But the new rubber is pretty pliable. I believe they want you to put this in compressed so that it will hold under that curve, the curved top of the door frame. And so this just takes a fair bit of effort, but I start in the front, and you can see I'm pushing and compressing the rubber as I'm going and pushing it up into the channel. And again, this is all in real time, and you can do it very quickly. Just push hard. And by the time I get to the back, if I did it right, I will have compressed it enough that that corner will fit just perfectly. And if you don't do it enough, it's very simple. Just pull it right back out and do it again. Notice I did not peel off the adhesive backing over by the front of the door yet. I'm waiting until I get this all in just right before I do that. So again, it takes a bit of muscle here, but it's not extremely difficult. And I think I got it just about right. I was maybe a 1/16 of an inch too long, but what I'm going to do is just kind of pull the rubber across the top when I'm done, just to make sure it all seats correctly. Again, when you push the rubber into the channel, I found it easiest to push in the inside portion first that faces the inside of the door, and then the outside portion second. And then again, the sides go in pretty easily. Just work your way down. The other thing I found useful, I'll show you in a sec, one of those pry tools is just about the right width. You can use it kind of as a push guide to make sure the channel's seated properly all the way. But again, it's very easy to just stick the rubber in, work your way down, drop it inside the door when you get close enough. Keep going until you hit the windowsill, and then we're going to have to go around to the other side of the door to seat the rest of the rubber that's inside the door. Okay, there's one of those pry tools which happens to be the right width, and I can just use it to slide inside the channel and make sure everything is seated nicely. The inside of these channels on the sides has a felt strip that holds the window snug. So that's one of the reasons to replace these things after several years, is that the old run channel, the felt evidently gets compressed and stops holding the window snugly, and then the window starts getting a little bit loose. The rubber grabs a bit and the window just doesn't operate smoothly. So once you put this new run channel in, it holds the window pretty snugly, slides nice and smoothly. Okay, now I'm going to bring the camera around so you can see what it looks like inside when you're doing this. So here's why you have to peel back the plastic, because I found that I had to go in both the top hole and the bottom hole just to get clean access to the entire channel all the way down the back side of the door. And again, having that tool really helps, or something like that. A chopstick would probably do fine too. I probably would not recommend putting a screwdriver or something with a sharp blade, because again, there is felt and you don't want to scratch it or gouge it. So something that's blunt, about that thick, that you can just run along to smooth it out. So again, sorry for jostling the camera. I'm again juggling it with one hand, passing it back and forth as I do this thing. But basically, as long as that tool slides in nicely, then the window is going to slide. So you just want to make sure that the tool slides nicely and all the rubber is seated. You can play a little bit with the outer edges of the rubber. There are some pieces of flashing that it either tucks inside or lays on the outside of. You might want to take a good look at, the other door just for comparison, just to make sure that the exterior is seated just right. I don't think that's going to make a difference as far as weatherproofing or anything, or rainproofing. I think it's mostly just going to be cosmetic. Okay, so now everything is seated nicely, so we're going to pry back the section where that adhesive strip is so we can see it. We're going to pull off the top cover and press it right back in. And that's really it. So run channel is in. Next step, put the window in. Here's the window. Again, I cleaned it with shop towels and rubbing alcohol. Just to see where the mounting tab is, the window sits right on that guide, and the vertical tab holds the window from falling back, and you can see where the bolt holes are. So when we seat the window, you'll see exactly how the window fits on that bar. So the regulator, it's a scissor type mechanism with a horizontal bar that goes all the way across that the window sits on. So I'm going to put my little towel back to cover that sharp edge. And go grab the window, and I think this time I'm going to insert it from the inside. It doesn't really matter. It'll come out and go in either on the inside or the outside of the door frame. But basically, stick the nose in, get the front edge into the channel, and start tilting it, putting it horizontal until that rear corner, you can just guide it into the rear channel. As soon as you got both corners in, just upright the glass, and boom, now it's in. Now you can just go ahead and slide it down. And I'm going to take the camera off now so you can see what it looks like. So as I lower the window in, you'll see it fits in front of that vertical tab, and then the window bracket goes behind the regulator bar. So the window is held in snugly, and you have your place to put the 2 bolts. That window regulator bar will slide freely to the left and right, so you don't have to worry about the bolts. The bolt holes not being aligned. You can just push the bar back and forth. I think I'm going to do that in a sec. Sorry about the camera work. Okay, the bolts go in pretty easily, and I will just tighten them hand tight. I don't know if there's a torque spec for this. I'd probably say it's, 10 foot-pounds or something like that. I took care to use the small 1/4 inch ratchet and just do it fairly snug. You just don't want it to loosen up. On the driver's side, there's actually one bolt that was loose after several years of owning the car, opening and closing the window. So I would definitely make sure they're pretty snug. And now I'm going to go ahead and test the window operation. So grabbing the armrest again with the window switch, plug it in with one hand. And everything looks good. Nice and smooth. The window's held in pretty snugly. Just check the weather stripping on the outside, make sure it looks like it's seated nicely. It's not going to be 100% perfect. These rubber molds aren't the absolute best, but it does what it needs to do. Actually, I decided, since I have the door panel off, I better recheck those bolts one more time just to make sure they're snug enough. I don't want to have to pull the door panel back off to tighten up window bolts. Everything looking good. So the next thing I got to do is put the plastic wrap back on. This usually just takes a second. That rubber is tacky, so I would definitely suggest leaving it on the door, even cut it in half if it makes it easier to get the plastic wrap off, because then you can just pat it back together and it'll hold. Okay, we're going to put the speaker back in. Remember how the barbs work. We're going to insert the top first, and then we're going to slide the bottom in, and then it will just sit by itself. And we can grab those 4 bolts and put them in. And then unfortunately I'm not going to show the entire reassembly because my camera battery died on me. So we'll just go as far as we can and go ahead and watch the first part of the video and just reverse exactly what I did to take the door panel out. All the screws and pieces go in exactly the reverse order. just make sure that big bolt that bolts into the door frame goes in nice and tight. These I did not tighten them very much with a ratchet because they're going into plastic plugs. I just tightened them, you know, ever so slightly past snug. Okay, speakers in. I believe we're ready to put the door panel back on. So once again, the door opening lever assembly, you have to kind of twist it to get it through the hole. And again, if this particular door lever assembly, there are some barbs that, like spring clip barbs, that hold it to the door panel, and usually I think you would actually take off the cables. So watch other YouTube videos showing removing the door panel to see how you pull the cables off. They just kind of slide out. But in my case, since the door handle assembly came out, I just stuck through the hole. It was just as easy. Okay, and the door panel itself slides into place pretty easily. You don't have to have the window open. It'll just kind of fudge it a bit, and you'll feel it set into place. And then just make sure that your little spring clips down here are aligned with the holes in the door frame. And I'm just about out of batteries. I'm going to pound this, bang the panel in this several places where there's spring pins, and then I will end up putting everything back together later. So I hope that was helpful. And this was my first video DIY, so I apologize for the camera work. It definitely helps to have someone else holding the camera. But hopefully this explained how to change out a window run channel, and again, it is a very easy thing to do and doesn't require a lot of tools. Thank you.